everybody, and welcome back to this MERN tutorial series where we are building out this Zelda-themed application using a MERN stack. And a MERN stack is, of course, a technology stack where we're using MongoDB, Express.js, React, as well as Node.js. And we built out our backend in the first video, and then in the second video, we built out this blog page here. And if you click up here, the about is empty and the admin is empty. And then back on the blog page, if I click on any one of these posts here, this page is also empty. So in this video, we're going to build out this blog page and then also this about page here. Now, if you're just joining us, make sure to go back and start from the beginning, the first video, so that you can build out the backend as well as what we have on this website so far. Or if you really want to skip all of that, then you can just grab the code for this video in the description, in the link in the description below. And one more thing that I'll mention, I have actually updated the project files directory on GitHub, and I'll put that link down in the description below. A couple of these pictures didn't quite match, so these last two were a little bit off. So make sure that you get the new project files as well. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right on in here. And basically, we have this filtered posts, post, and then game card. And if I click on one of these, this is going to take me into this blog page file. So let's close on out of that. Let's close out of all of these, and we're going to go to that blog page file. So in our pages, we have this blog page.jsx. So go ahead and open up this blog page. Now in here, I'll show you just what this looks like on the old site or on my notes site that I built before. Basically, you've got a title, and then you've got this block of code right here. And this is all just HTML that comes directly from our Mongo database, meaning all of this code as well as this image here. And then down here, we've got a link that takes us back to our blog page. And then we also have these arrows where we can navigate to either the previous or the next article. So yeah, so if I click on that arrow, it takes me to the next one. And then if I click on this all, it takes me back to this page here. So let's just open up one of these and we can work from there. So coming back to our page, it looks like we definitely have some work to do here. So let's get started on this right away. Coming into my blog page, or my blog page.jsx, in here, basically, if you'll remember in the blog, or not in the blog, in my routes index down here, I have, this is where I'm defining my path for my blog page. And basically, we need a few pieces of information inside of this blog page. So I'm going to actually need the post. So we're going to pass in the specific post that we're using. And actually, we're not going to pass post there. We're going to pass selected post, which is our state variable up here. And then after that, I'm going to pass the entire posts list in because we are going to need to determine in here, if you remember at the bottom, we have this previous and then next link. So we actually need to determine where every post is in relation to all of the other posts. So because we don't have links built into the MongoDB, I'm just going to pass the whole post list in and we can sort it out that way. And then I'm going to pass also in this set selected post function. So set selected posts. And then after that, there's one more function that we're going to pass in, but we'll get to that later. So for now, that's good. We've got posts, and then set selected post. So save that and then come into the blog page, and we need to actually accept all of those parameters. So posts, and then, or props as they're called in React. We need to accept all of these props. So set selected post. And then with that, and down here, the first thing I'm going to do is if we're going to render out this page, all of this information is coming from our post. So if we don't have a post, then we can't really do anything, which means the first thing I need to do is check if my post is actually defined or not. So if my post is equal to undefined, or if post.title is equal to undefined, and that's just gonna just to verify that this post is in fact defined. And because when we come up in here, you'll remember right now we actually set our post to just open curly brackets, which is essentially an empty object, which is not technically the same as undefined. So we want to check for that as well. So to do that, I'm going to write a function, and we're going to say, we're going to call that function is empty object, and then we're going to pass in my post. And this function I actually need to go ahead and create, and I will put that in my util.js. So open up your util.js, and let's go ahead and make a function up here above my API function section. And we're going to call this export const is empty object is equal to, and it's going to take an object in, and then in here we're just going to return object dot keys object dot length is equal to 0. And here, make sure not to hit shift when you shouldn't. Okay. With that, add some semicolons to that, and there we go. Come back to my blog page, and in here, basically we need to import that. So we can import is empty object from util now, and now that we have the if statement, if it's like that, then basically we want to return, and in here I'm just going to say 404 article not found. And then down here, if our post is populated, then we want to go ahead and populate our page up here. So now if I save that and come into my article here, if I click on one of these, you can see here I now get blog page. But if I hit refresh on this, now I get 404 article not found. So what happened? Well, basically, whenever I hit refresh, this index, you'll remember, has this use effect that's going to run initially upon startup, but this get post is actually running an async operation. So if I click on blog, and now if I click on blog, these posts are loaded, and if I click on this, it sets my selected post, and then I load that page. But now, if I refresh, this page actually gets refreshed before all of those posts are loaded again. So I need to fix that. And to fix that, I'm going to pass in one more function into my blog page called load post. Obviously, I have my set selected post already, and I could actually just take this title and convert it back into a title and then look for it in the database, but that's a lot of work, and that comes with unnecessary database calls that we don't want to do. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this load post function, and then basically I need to call this load post function whenever we reload this page so that it can load that post into our state. So save this and then come back into my index, and in this index I need to create this load post function. And basically, if you look at the piece of information that we have on this page, it's really only the URL. So I need to look in my posts for this URL, but this URL isn't stored directly in our database like that. If you remember, in our database, this one, for example, is called The Legend of Zelda with capital letters and with spaces. So I need to convert my titles to a URL and then compare them to my current URL. So to do that, I can come in here and inside my index, I'm going to say const get post by title. And this is going to be a function that takes a URL title. And then inside of here, I could say const temp post is equal to posts dot find post. And then we're going to pass this to string to URL from our util class, if you'll remember. And then inside of here, I could say post dot title. And this is going to be equal to, if this is the same as our URL title, then that's the post that we want to get. And then after that, all we have to do is set our selected posts to this new post, temp post. Okay, so that should work fine. Now I need to copy that and we need to pass that into our function down here. So after set selected post, I'm going to say load post, and load post is going to be equal to that new function there. So now if I come back to my blog page, I have this URL, so I need to read that URL in first. Whoops, we don't want to do a Bing search. I need to read this URL in first. And the way that I can do that is basically with my use params. If you remember on our index page, we are actually passing in our URL is blog and then post title. So we can use the use params to pull down this post title. And the way I can do that is actually in my blog post.jsx. Up top, all I need to do is say const post title. And this variable name needs to match this name here. So I can say const post title equals use params, this one from React router DOM. And then now this is going to load in our post title. And basically what I could do is I could come down into here and say, hey, if we're returning 404 post not found, basically we need to run our load post function and pass in our post title. And if I save this, this will actually work. So let's save that. And now you see blog page. And if I hit refresh, again, you see blog page. So it's finding it every time. You're not seeing 404 anymore. But if I click inspect on this, bring the console over, you'll notice we get cannot update component index while rendering a different component blog page. To locate the bad states, the bad set state call inside the blog page, follow this stack trace. So we could follow that, but I'll tell you right now where the bad set state is, and it's this right here, this load post. But basically, because of this load post down here, React works in cycles when it's rendering everything, and it really doesn't like it when you set states just all willy-nilly all over the place. It uses actually hooks and then life cycle methods to keep track of everything and to make sure everything's happening in the same order. So like I said, this will actually work even with that warning, but the better and the more official way to do that would be to actually pull that out, and we want to put that into a use effect. So if we pull in a use effect, and you'll notice that auto imports use effect up top. So here I'm going to have a use effect method, and down inside of this method, all I need to do is paste that line, load post, post title. And then in here, let's add a semicolon on the end. And you'll remember I said in the previous video that in React, in a use effect, you have this optional parameter that I can pass in. And if we leave this array empty, then this use effect will load or will run only when we initially load the page. But if we put something in here, like in this case, I'm going to put post title and posts. And that way, if either our title, which is our URL, or our list of posts changes, then we're going to reset this and run that page again. So now if I were to come over here and click refresh on this page, and let's pull up our terminal again, you'll notice the same thing because I didn't hit save on my page. So let's save that. And now if we look here again, refresh it, it's refreshing and I don't get that warning. So this is definitely a lot better than it was. And we're going to move on now and keep coding without that warning, because the fewer warnings, the better. Some people say, oh, it's just a warning, it doesn't matter. And sometimes that's true, but oftentimes that's not true. We want to avoid warnings as best as possible. Okay, anyway, that's a side point. So inside of this div, what actually do we want to return here? Well, basically, I'm going to add a class name to this, and we're just going to call it a flexbox because we're going to use this to flex our display, for lack of a better description there. And then we're going to have another div in here, and this one I'm going to call my class name, let's see, blog post inner container. And then now down here, inside my inner container, we can have a p tag, and this p tag is going to be my title. So that's just going to be post.title. And here, I'll throw a class name on there as well. Blog post title. After that, we're going to have our image. So let's just look here really quick. In this article, we have a title, and then I have this cover image. And then after that, I have the content of the article, which is all of this, including the pictures and video. That is just the content in our Mongo database. So if you look in here, that's this content. So this is actually not just a string, this is HTML. So we're going to render that using HTML. And then after that, I have the back and forward button, as well as a link back to my all. So to make all of that on our page, what we need to do is come in here, and after we have our title, then we need to add that cover image. So img class name, and for this, I'm going to say blog post cover, and my source is going to be equal to, whoops, let's put the source after the quotes. So src is going to be equal to, and then in here, I need to, basically I have my cover image path saved in MongoDB. It's this image zelda1.jpg. But this is, of course, the file path, and I can't just put that directly into here. But if you'll remember, we do actually have a function for getting that. And we're going to say get image URL, and then my image URL is going to be my, let's see, post dot image, post dot, what did I call that? Image path. So post dot image path. Now if I were to go ahead and save this, come back here, you'll see we have our image already showing up here. So obviously we need some styles there, so we'll get to that as well. And then after our image, we can add our content here. So for that, I'm going to say div class name, and we're going to set this equal to our blog post content. And then after this, I'm going to say dangerously set inner HTML, and basically I'm going to say HTML post.content. Okay, now that gives us everything we need there. Let's see. After that, let's go ahead and space this out a little bit better. So now in here, we need to go ahead and add at the bottom here, we need a div to house all three of these, the arrows and then the all link. So I'm going to make a div for that, and we'll say class name, and this class name is going to be blog post bottom nav. Oops, not a self-closing div. Okay, now inside of here, basically we need this arrow and this link, but this arrow I'm actually going to put inside of another div, And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to put my hover effect on the thing that doesn't move, and I want to shift the arrow. Actually, and that way I can put the link on both of them so that you don't hover over something and then it moves back when it moves away from the cursor. So to do that, I can say class name equal to left arrow box. Now I need to actually add those arrows in. So go back to the project files that I gave to you. So project files, images, and in here I've got these two arrows. Copy both of those, and I'm going to paste them into the assets. Yes, go ahead and paste that. And these are actually just arrows that I copied. They're icons that I copied and downloaded from flaticons.com. So they say I have to attribute the author. So right here, this is my attribution to the author. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and actually add our arrows in there now. So here I can say this is going to be an IMG tag, and I need to set my src equal to my arrow, basically, but I need to import those. So to do that, we're going to come up here and I can say, actually, let's come up to our assets just to make this a little cleaner. And I'm going to do a new file, index.js, and then same thing we've been doing. I'm going to import left, let's see, import, we're going to import left arrow from, and then in here, we're going to say / left arrow.png, and then same thing, import right arrow from, and then in here, we're going to say right arrow.png, and then export both of those. So export left arrow right, whoops, one word, left arrow, right arrow, and then save that file, close out of that. Now back in here, I can say import left arrow, right arrow from, and then quotes, .. assets. Now save that, come down here, my source for my left arrow, and let's spell that right. Left arrow in here, I can say left arrow, and then after we have the source, let's go ahead and in here, I can set my alt, which is going to be equal to previous game or previous post, I suppose. Class name is going to be equal to left arrow and then arrow. I'll have two of them because some of these traits are going to be shared between the two of them. And then finally, for a on click, so my on click is going to be an arrow function that in here I'm going to say set selected post, and then my selected post, basically I need to actually determine what my selected post is going to be, and then I'm going to scroll to the top, which is the function from util.js. So put parentheses after that. Now we need to actually pass a post into our set selected post. So how do we determine what the previous post was? Well, basically we have our current post and then we have the whole list of posts. So we need to find the index of our current post and then just take the one before that for the previous post and take the one after that for the next post. So to do that, after we've already verified that we have data, that we have post data, in here I could say const current index is going to be equal to posts.bind index, where my current post, and then we can say current post.id is equal to my post.id. Okay, and then once we have that, basically, we need to do a check here because I can't just take the one before that and the one after that, because that'll work in the middle, but it won't work on the ends. So I need to check if we're on the end here. So I could say if first I can say if current index is equal to -1, then we have a problem, and we need to basically, this didn't work, so I'm going to say return next post is equal to null, and previous post is also equal to null. And then aside from that happening, if we did in fact find our thing, then I can say const total posts equals posts.length. We need to know how long it is so we can determine if we're on the end. And then const next index is going to be equal to current index plus 1. And basically after our next index is going to be the current index plus 1. And then if we use the modulus division to divide that by our total posts, that'll give us the number, so that'll work even around the edge. So if I say total posts, that's going to make it so our next, if we're on the last post and I add 1 to that and then modulus divide it by our total post, that'll return 1 or 0 in this case, which is what we want. And then down here, I could say const previous index is going to be equal to current index minus 1 plus total posts. And then same thing here, we're going to modulus, we're going to do the modulus division on that so that we don't end up with a number that's outside of our array. And now I have this previous index and my next index. So with that being said, I can come down here and basically all I need to do is say const, we'll say next post equals posts with my next index, and then my previous post is going to be equal to posts at my previous index. And now that we have both of those, I can simply come down here and come down to my left arrow. And for my set selected posts, I need to basically put previous posts in there. And now that's totally good. Let me duplicate all those lines. And down here, I'm just going to say right arrow box. And then this is going to be my right arrow. And then instead of previous game, it'll be next game. And then my class name will be right arrow and arrow. And then finally, my set selected post will be next post. And we're still going to scroll to the top in there. So now I have both of those arrows, and I need to essentially put in a all link in the middle. So for that, I'm going to make a link. And then inside of the link, I'm going to have div class name equal to nav triangle, which you'll remember is the same class we used up here for the nav bar. So we should be able to reuse that one. And then this is going to be nav triangle. Finish up that div. And down here, we're going to have one more div, or actually even this could just be a span. So span. And this span, I can say class name is equal to nav link. And then finally, inside of this span, I can say all. And basically, I'll put a class name on this link so I can style it. I can say class name is equal to, here I can say nav item box, and then blog post all link. Okay, so now if I go ahead and save that file, we have an error, link is not defined. I need to actually import that up here. So that should be coming from React router DOM, I believe. So this one here, save that. One error, previous index is not defined. Okay, what did I do wrong? Prev index and previous. Okay, I need to pick one and keep it consistent. There we go, prev index, prev index. Okay, come back to my Zelda blog, and here you can see I've got text and then another picture, and then text and then a picture, and then text and a picture. And it looks like this is all there. I've got my arrows as well as my all link. And if you'll notice there, that all link, the classes, at least for the hover and the spinning of the triangle, that's already working because we use the same classes as before. So with that being done, basically now I just need to come into my blog post.css, and in here, let's go ahead and start, let's start formatting things so that we look just better than this. So the first things first, I'm going to import my variables file. So to do that, /variables.css. And then after that, my outer box here, I named flexbox. So I'm going to style that one first. Display flex width is going to be 100%. And my align items, I'm going to say center. And justify content, center. Now let's keep going with that. The next one I named blog post inner container. And now inside of here, I can say my max width, I'm going to make it 1000 pixels. And after that, I can say my background color. And this one, if you go into that variables CSS, basically this color is the one that I'm looking for, main background color alpha. Copy that, and then down here, var, paste that in. And there we go, we've got that white background color. So let's keep going. I can say blog post title, and in here, font size, this is going to be XX large. And then after that, text align, center, and font weight, I'll do 700, make that nice and bold, save that, and there we go, we get our title up top. And then after that, we can say blog post cover. And then inside of here, my width is going to be 100%. My height is going to be auto. Then down here, we could say blog post content. And then our content, we're just going to give it some padding, maybe 18 pixels. And then our font size, we'll say extra large. And our margin on the bottom, just to give some space between the article and the navigation bar, I'm going to say 32 pixels. So now let's save that, and here you go. This article is actually looking pretty good now. We just need to fix that navigation bar at the bottom, which, as you can see, is not looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and do that now. So the next one, we can say blog post bottom nav. And then inside of here, we can say width 100%. After that, padding. And this is going to be 24 pixels and 0 pixels. And then this is going to have a display, flex, align items, center, and justify content. We're going to do space between. Save that, and looking better, but still those arrows are way too big. So let's go ahead and style our arrow. I can say height, maybe 40 pixels, should be a little better. And then our position is going to be relative because we're going to shift those a little bit on hover. And then transition, we want these to be all for 0.3 seconds, and I want ease in and ease out. Okay, so now that looks a lot better, but there's still a few things that we need to do. We've got our arrow. Now let's say dot left arrow box, and then basically the only unique thing on these is going to be what side the padding is on. So to do that, I can say padding 0 pixels, and then 48 pixels. Save that, and our left arrow box looks better. Let's do that same thing to our right arrow box. Save that. And next, we are going to style our actual arrows inside of them. So I can say dot right arrow, and my right arrow is going to say left 0 pixels. And then on my left arrow, I'm going to say right 0 pixels. And then after that, come down here and let's do our actual hover. So I can say dot right arrow box hover. And then inside of here, I can say dot right arrow. And this is going to be left 24 pixels. So save that and copy this. And just to show you what that looks like, you can see my arrow is now moving as I hover over that, and we need to do that on the other one. So here I can say this is going to be my left arrow box with my left arrow, and we want this to the right, 24 pixels. So now, there we go. Both of those arrows are working, but you'll notice that cursor is still not right. So let's find our arrow boxes again and say cursor, pointer. And I'm going to put that on my arrow boxes and then also on my arrows. Okay, so now, there we go. That looks a lot better. We still need to style that link in the middle. So let's go ahead and do that. Blog post all link. And then inside of here, I could say background color is going to be var. That looks like a good secondary color. And then there we go, looking better, but we need some padding on that. Maybe 12 pixels on the top and bottom and 24 pixels on the side. Now we just need to round that off a little bit. Border radius, if I say maybe 50 pixels and save, there we go. That is looking a lot better. The link isn't working, so we'll have to figure that out. So that link works. To go to the next one, and it works. Let's check the backlink as well. And let's actually make sure that this link wraps all the way around. It does. So Tears of the Kingdom is, of course, the last game. And if I go to the next one, it loops back to my first game. So that looks like everything's working here. We just need to go to our all link back on our blog page. And sure enough, we set our class name, but we never set our to. So I think I just want the to be like that. Save that. And now if I come all the way down and hit all, there we go. That link looks good. And one more thing I'll do on that all link is we'll say on click. We also want to run our scroll to top function. Now, if I click on one of these and go all the way to the bottom and click on that all link, it'll scroll back up to the top of that blog page. There's one other thing I noticed in there, and that's there's a tiny purple, dark purple underline under that all button. So let's get rid of that as well. In our blog post all link, we can just say text decoration none, and that'll just clear that underline from that link. And now there we go. Everything looks to be working fine. So now we've got all of that done. Let's go ahead and do this about page really quick. So this shouldn't be that hard. We just have our about at the top, and then we have basically some poems that were generated by ChatGPT for Zelda. So nothing too special. I'm just going to copy this, and maybe I'll copy these into the project files directory as well. So let's come into our code, find our about.jsx, and then basically all we need to do in here, I could say we shouldn't need any variables because we're not passing anything in, so we don't need any props coming in up top. All I need to do is jump right into my about section down here. So I'll say class name, about, container, and then after that, I can say I'll have another div in here, and this div is going to be my class name about inner container, and then inside of this inner container, we can start actually putting our stuff. So h1, and then I'll say class name about header, and for this, I'll give it data AOS, and this is going to be equal to fade down. And then in here, I'm just going to write about. So now if I save that and come to my about page on my website, you see we've got this about, and it fades nicely down into place. So we need to keep going on this HR, and that's just going to give us that horizontal dividing line right there. And then after my horizontal dividing line, I'm going to have a div. And then this one, I'm going to say class name about intro box. And then inside of that box, I'm going to have a p tag. And this is going to have a class name of about intro text. And then I'm going to give this one data AOS fade right. And inside of here, I need to actually pass my data. So to do that, I'm going to come into my constants.js, and I'm going to make a new one in here. I'll say export const, and here I'm just going to say about intro text, and I will set this equal to blank right now. Let me just copy this, and then you can, if you want this, you can just copy it from the file on GitHub. Otherwise, you can just go off to the internet and find your own stuff to put in here. Just copy from Wikipedia or something, or just use the lorem ipsum, whatever. This is just filler text, honestly. So I'm going to come in here and put escape characters behind all of my quotes so that everything works. And let's copy that, save, and then back here, I'm going to say about intro text, and that'll import that from constants. And then under that, I need to actually put this link image that we have here. So src equals, and this is going to be my link with a bow. So I need to actually import that as well. So I can say import link bow from assets / link bow.png. And that is not coming up. So is it possible I haven't copied that in yet? Sure looks like I haven't. Let's go back over to our images inside of our project files and find link bow.png, and then paste that into our assets. And there we go. That's the image that we're looking for. So now that we have that, we can say alt is equal to link with a bow and arrow. Class name is going to be, we'll call it a link about image, link about image. I guess that can be confusing. This character's name is link, but also in computer language, a link is like a hyperlink to somewhere else. Anyway, don't worry about that. And then here, if we have this one fade in right, let's have link fade in left. So data AOS equals to fade left, and then that should be good for our image. And then after that image, we just have this poem down here, again, just generated by ChatGPT. You can use whatever text you want to. I do not care. It's your website, but I'm just going to use the same code. So for that, I'm going to come into my constants again, make a new line, and I'm just going to paste this in here. Don't bother typing this up. I guess if you really want to. Here it is, you could type that up. But if I were you, I would just go to the GitHub and copy that, or you can just get your own from ChatGPT or wherever you want. Whatever text you want to put in here, that's fine. So now that we have that, we need this about main text. Let's save our constants file, come back to my about.jsx, and then finally in this about.jsx, basically we are going to just have one more div, and this div, I'm going to say data AOS fade up, and meaning that one's going to come in from the bottom, and then my class name is going to be about content, and then I'm going to dangerously set my inner HTML, and I'm going to make that equal to inside of here underscore HTML colon, and then about main text right here. And if you look carefully at that text that I copied, it's not actually an HTML, or sorry, it's not actually a string. It is actually an HTML string. If you look in my constants.js, and let's go back here, view word wrap, you can see I have BRs for line breaks. And basically that's the only thing that I have in there. But that's why I'm doing HTML instead of just putting this into like a p tag, because this would be a whole lot of p tags. So that being said, our about page is actually done. So if I save this, I've got everything here. All I need to do is just come in and apply just a couple styles to this, and then we should be good to go. So let's open up my about.css, and we should be able to just start plugging away in here. The first thing we're going to do, as always, is import our variables file. So import variables.css, and once we have that, now I can say dot about container. This is going to be a display, flex, justify content, center, save. I guess we don't need to save yet. That hasn't done anything. Dot about inner container, and then this inner container, I'm going to say padding 24 pixels, and we'll say we're going to set a max width on this one of 1000 pixels, just so it doesn't get too wide on a wide screen like ours. So 2000 or 1000 pixels on that for our maximum width, and then background color. And this again is going to be that main background color. So if I open up my variables, this one we still have it highlighted. Copy that main background color alpha, come back into here, paste that, save that, and there you can see we have that background color applied now. So this is looking better already. Let's keep it going. About, header, text, align, and here I'm going to say center, and then padding on the bottom. We're going to give that 24 pixels just to put a little bit more room between that horizontal dividing line and the title itself. And then after that, I can say about intro box. And then my intro box, I actually want to be a flex, but we're going to change that between a row and a column depending on the size of the screen. So that is, of course, by default, a row. But I'm going to come down here and say at media screen, and for a max width of up to 500 pixels, we want this actually to be a column. So I can say flex direction, and I don't just want a column, I want a column reverse so that our text shows up first. And then after that, we can say align items center. So there we go. You can see that doesn't look good because our picture is way too big right now. We are going to need to fix that next. So let's do our link about image dot link about image. And then this one, I'm going to say width 400 pixels, object fit, contain, and then we'll have a few media queries on here as well. So media, screen, and if my screen is smaller than 900 pixels, then 400 pixels is going to be a little too big for that. So we're going to change our width to 300 pixels. And then we'll go ahead and copy that. And down here, instead of 900, we'll change that to 700. And in here, we'll make that just a little bit smaller. So 200 pixels should be good for that. And now you can see this is what the site actually looks like. There's a few more styling things that we need to do. We need to move this text to the center. So let's go ahead and do that. We can say dot about intro text is what we called that. And then inside of here, we'll just go ahead and specify the font size. And for that, we can use XXL or double extra large. And then we'll do dot about content. And then inside of here, we can say, we'll specify the font size as well. We'll make that extra large. And then the text align, let's go ahead and put that in the middle. So we'll center that. And finally, let's add a little bit of padding on the bottom just to separate that a little bit from the footer down below. So 50 pixels should be good enough. And there you go. You can see now this is looking much, much better. And we've got really our full site at this point, at least everything that's going to be public facing. We've got our blog here, and you can see this is what our single article looks like. I can go ahead and click this link at the bottom, and it jumps instantaneously to the next article. And again, these links, they go through all the articles and it scrolls it to the top every time. And because we already have, obviously, this full blog list loaded into our memory in our program, in our state, this is actually loading quite quickly. And this is one of the benefits of React, obviously, is you don't have to load the entire page again. You only have to load the new content. And all of the other components that have already been there, they're still going to be rendered much easier. So hopefully you guys have learned quite a bit in this video. Make sure to like this video and leave a comment down below telling us what you think. And we will see you in our next video.